intelligent
Absolutely.
and much wiser than what we are today. So we are
100% wiser. Our forefathers knew that they didn't disturb nature system, and the tiger was the focus of it, right in the center of it, so it had to survive. When it survived, there was a quality of life. When it goes down, you're worried about when the shopping mall is coming. Are you going to live in concrete? Are you going to cross Delhi's traffic? You know how difficult it is in Delhi.
That's right.
It's becoming impossible more and more because we are creating concrete blocks, and we must have a future vision and a land use policy. Otherwise, this country cannot go anywhere.
Yeah. Now, we talked about civil society, but now again, civil society can talk to somebody who can take action, because civil society at the most can create opinion, etc. That action can be taken by the government. So we have created a Ministry of Environment and Forest in the country, which we thought would take care of all these issues. But somehow I think there is a failure on the part of the government machinery to actually capture this type of a growing need of society to protect environment and forest. If as a country we never thought that environment forest was important, we would not create a ministry. We would not pass a law like Wildlife Protection Act or Environment Protection Act or Air and Water Act, because we realize the importance of those issues. Having realized the importance, having created ministries, do you think the ministries have been able to perform the job that is expected of them?
In the last 6-7 years, I think the ministry has failed in a very big way, because the wisdom to actually govern and administer the entire gambit of environment, forest and wildlife has not taken place. Now the pressures are too much. One part of the ministry is busy giving no objection certificates to big projects. The other side is looking at forest and wildlife. The time has come in 2008, and it has been suggested to the Prime Minister to bifurcate the ministry. There should be a separate ministry of forest and wildlife, a separate ministry of environment, because environment also deals with urban landscapes, cities, problems of pollution. So these are two separate issues. We require two secretaries and completely two ministries. Originally in 1985, when Ministry of Environment and Forest was created, there were two departments. One was forest and wildlife, one was environment, and there were two secretaries for 6 months. Then a new secretary took over. He was a very high profile man, and he merged them together. Now we require two ministries. We require the wisdom of the Ministry of Environment and Forest. If this doesn't happen, it will be a big disaster. I am completely disappointed in the last 6-7 years of what is happening in the Ministry of Environment and Forest. Maybe they are under too much pressure. Everything is referred to them. So we require to reorganize, reform, create new institutions in this Ministry of Environment and Forest.
So how does this independent Ministry of, when we talk about forest and wildlife, now there is a forest service cadre, which in fact the job is to actually, part of the job is also training in wildlife. Are you trying to say that we need a different type of cadre which can deal with wildlife?
Yes, Mr. Prabhu. I believe the time has come in 2008 with all the problems. The Indian Forest Service requires a bifurcation, or it should be called the Indian Forest and Wildlife Service. And those that join for cutting operations, for planting trees, for rural development or welfare of people in forest, they go to the Indian Forest Service. Those that join for saving national parks, sanctuaries, they go to Indian Wildlife Service. Right through Africa, South America, America, you have a separate wildlife service. Our time has come. We need to protect 50 to 100 of the most important wild landscapes, national parks and sanctuaries, with a new cadre of men, specially trained right from the director of the park down to the foot soldier and the forest guard. And if we don't create this reform, everything will be lost, because today we have a demoralized forest service. They don't know whether they are going to be there, whether they should go away, and nobody has bothered to reform them. We reform institutions in the army, we reform institutions in the police, but we have neglected and ignored the forest service. So it should be bifurcated, changed, and a new system created completely for the new problems that exist today. If we don't do this reform, we can't head anywhere.
So talking about this personnel in the wildlife service that you talked about, could we not take, say, tribals in that service and train them, and because they have the traditional knowledge, and then they themselves would be the better protector because they know the terrain better, they know the environment better?
I agree entirely. You can train tribals, people from villages who live in or around forests, give the young people a chance in a training center, give 6-month or 1-year diplomas, recruit them in ecotourism, protection, water and soil conservation, do it properly, get the best trainers, get the best centers. We waste our money doing all kinds of other things, but we have not done this training. I agree entirely with you. It is a great idea to train them. We also require, like in Kenya or Botswana, you require an anti-poaching force. Like we have the RAF, Rapid Action Force, for riots. We have a Greyhound force for Naxalites. To attack the poachers, we require federal force. This is essential, absolutely important, that if you have a trouble spot, 500 people or 100 people can go in an aeroplane straight to the nearest tarmac and go and flush out the poachers. You don't do this, nothing will happen. We have 1,200 rhinos in Kaziranga. When the poaching camps come, the force has to go in and flush them out. It happens everywhere in the world. It's not about guns and guards. It's about law enforcement. You know, it's like having a red light, orange light, green light in Delhi's traffic. If we had no traffic signal, could we move in Delhi? Same thing in a forest. Your traffic signal must be there. Not allowed, you're inside illegally, challaned and caught. So these things are essential, and we can involve local people as long as we give them the best training that money can buy.
You know, talking about poor people now, you know, normally people think that this type of an activity of protecting tigers, protecting the forest is an elitist activity. This is something which is talked over cocktail circuits, and this is not something. But as you can see now that in fact if forests are gone, the water is gone, ecosystem is gone, the worst sufferer will be the poor people. Because the poor people are the ones who are going to really take the brunt of this type of a mindless activity that is going on.
They will suffer the most because they don't have the buying power. The rich can buy water. First the poor will suffer, then the rich won't know where to go. Everybody in the end will suffer. But yes, if you do not have a proper vision of how to protect the forest, the sufferer is the poorest of the poor, the same people you're creating an act for. It's not the genuine tribal who harms the forest. It's the man who comes in wearing the costume of the tribal. There are many cases in Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh that have gone to the Supreme Court, the apex court. You know, I have worked on the Central Empowered Committee till recently for 5.5 years. And how many cases come where people in the guise of tribals go in to reap the benefits? The genuine never harms the forest. And we have to stop those who harm the forest.
One is the imposter posing himself as
I'm a tribal.
But more than that, I was just looking at a broader issue of water not being available anymore, because we are just 4% of the water of the world in any case. Then the problem would be that forest from where we get a real clean and safe drinking water, if that goes, the poor are the ones who are going to suffer. So in fact, protecting tiger is actually helping the poor of the world.
First benefit is the poor of the world. First benefit is the poorest there, because you're trying to still give them the essence of life, clean water to drink. You're trying to give them the essence of a naturally flourishing ecological system which is vital. So this has not been articulated to them, because the interface are activists who are not allowing the whole truth to come out. That is our problem.
So that means protecting tiger and in the process protecting forest is actually a most pro-poor measure. This is a measure which will actually help to maintain the ecosystem. That's why it's actually an anti-climate change measure. It will protect the atmosphere from warming up. It is also a measure which will ensure that we have a long-term sustainability of whatever we are doing. And it's also something which will take care of future and not just of present. Is this what you're saying?
It will do all the things you're talking about. Protecting the tiger is protecting the actual mosaic of a country, the lifeblood of a country, because it interlinks to all the arteries, blood vessels, veins and nerves, and keeps a country flowing in the right way to give you a quality of life. So it's a myth to think that those who want to save tigers are some group of elite or have an exclusive agenda. Nothing like that. But the only thing is that to protect tigers, you have to keep the area in which tigers roam inviolate, sanctum. This has to be understood. This has not been understood.
But you know, Valmik, knowing you for so many years now, and I have been admiring you, what you're doing, and you know, like tigers normally mark the territory, so they don't even allow, maybe in 10 square kilometer area, they will not allow any other, even tiger to come in, because that's how they would like to maintain it.
Correct.
Why are you behaving like a tiger in living by marking a territory around you, and when not trying to reach out to others who talk about poor, who talk about climate change, who talk about tribals? What you're saying is in fact going to help all those causes. So is it not that you like to make up now the remaining part of your life as a mission in which you like to work with those people and try to build bridges with them?
I would like to, Mr. Prabhu. In fact, now more and more I give lots of talks everywhere, whether it's in a small town, a village, whether it's in the city. I talk and engage as many people as I can in the mission to save the tiger. You may know that from 1988, for 12 years, till the year 2000, I tried to engage all the local people around Ranthambore National Park in the larger holistic mission. But I failed. I failed because people didn't realize in the place I was working in the importance of the tiger. I tried very hard but failed. So I pulled back. A lot of my life is a failure because I failed also to encourage or advise senior politicians that this was the way forward. And they took the other way forward. They mixed the issues. So I have a lot of failure that I carry with me, but still I fight for the tiger to survive. I fight with all the issues involved, and I hope I engage more and more with all the strata that makes the fabric of Indian society.
So now for agenda for future, we can just talk about that. And in terms of that, can you think that we need a platform in which political system, the bureaucratic system, the civil society, which represents various interests, human rights, tribal rights, animal rights, wildlife, and all that. How do you think we can bring all of them together and there can be a dialogue on an ongoing basis in which we can actually try to bring some sort of an understanding on these common issues?
I think that every few months there should be a catalyst. I don't know who the catalyst should be, whether it should be the government, whether it should be parliament, whether it should be a non-governmental organization who creates a think tank so that you have a dialogue and discussion going on the issues we've discussed today. We have no dialogue. Nobody invites you, 6 of you and 6 of you. The only time I've seen it happen is when Prime Minister Manmohan Singh asked 4 tribal activists and 4 wildlife activists and said, now go for each other, I want a solution by the morning. It's this mission that should be encouraged more and more by all strata of society so that we all can understand every viewpoint and find a balance. Saying, yes, this should not be touched, this can be done, this can be done. We are all civil society. We should not be fighting. We should be holding each other's hands and saying, let's go forward. It's in the interest of the future of a country.
In fact, tiger and tribal, in fact, they can go hand in hand. And for that to happen, I think we really need better understanding of each other, try to understand each other better, try to understand in a way.
And understand tigers and tribals also, what they need and what they don't need. We must understand each one of those categories.
And then we can move forward for a very better sustainable future in which we'll have wildlife, we'll have tribal, we'll have humans.
Everything.
We'll
have
have
a landscape with
and
land
I think
use.
we'll really have it in
absolutely.
place. And I hope that really happens soon, and I'm sure Valmik will like to play a role in that along with many others. You must try to invite some of the tribal activists home for a dinner and talk about it without serving them a tiger meal, I'm sure.
Yes.
So we look forward to that happening, and I'm very thankful to you for sharing your very interesting ideas and thoughts with us this morning. Thank you very much for doing that, and I really now would like to call it a day. Thank you very much for joining us. It was Valmik Thapar talking to us in Top Shot, in which we discussed the future of tiger, in a way, future of all of us. I know I'll end this program on a very optimistic note that probably if we can join hands, we can work together for a better future. So let's join hands between you and me, between Top Shot and the audience, between people of India and those who fight for the rights of people of India. Let us join hands together. We'll join you again very soon for a new edition of Top Shot, in which we'll invite some other person talking to us about an issue interesting to you and me. Thank you very much. Good night. Bye.